Not well.
Gonna take requests.
How are those for you?
Not too bad. Pretty good. What's your harvest?
So I haven't started yet. But, should be anytime now.
Yep.
Gotta get all the hay and shit down.
Tell me when you're logged in, Derek, because I'll wait until then.
I appreciate it. I'm trying to get all the Wi-Fi.
There you go.
Okay. This is my connection.
Go back. Go back to the second Wi-Fi. Okay, so.
There you go. All right, I'll call it to order now. Wait for you, yeah. It is a little after 6:30 now, and I'm calling the USD 489 board meeting for June 17th, 2024 to order. And the first item is approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda as presented, please.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, I have a second.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
I would like to amend that, because I would like to request that we table 6.4 and 6.5 classified.
Well, have you refreshed what, we don't, those are down in executive session at this time?
In executive session?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so we're not going to vote on, we're not going to have...
Yes, we are going to have action afterwards. Okay. Any further discussion? I have a motion and a second. All right, all those in favor vote yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed vote no.
No.
All right, motion is approved. And so we will go to 1.3. The mission of USD 489 is to provide a quality learning experience for every student in every classroom every day. To support the mission of the district, the USD 489 Board of Education includes supporting a vision that encompasses high student achievement, highly effective staff, effective and positive communications, effective management of resources. Also vital to keeping focus on the district's mission and vision are that the USD 489 Board of Education supports the district's core values: being a champion for all kids, bringing your best every day, carrying the banner for your school and district, and selling and creating possibilities and opportunities for students for their futures. All right, and that brings us to our consent agenda. Mr. Wilson, do you have anything to add for that?
Yeah, included tonight is, of course, board meeting minutes from previous meetings, the HRC minutes. We have the financials that you see every week. Anything specific you want to comment on?
A couple things probably just to touch on in the financials. The first would be the investment report, so that it shows our not only interest earnings but also the sales tax. And as you can see, as we move get closer into summertime and people visiting town, that sales tax is up. That's worth noting because that's what helps us manage the mill levy for the bond and interest repayment. The other thing I would probably point out is as we approach the end of the fiscal year, which is June 30th, we're working hard to get all the payments taken care of and everything wrapped up. Payroll, we finished the third of 4 payrolls this month to get done in this fiscal year still. And so part of that is the authority. So in the consent agenda, you're approving the authority for us to make the mandatory and end of year transfers. I've listed what the mandatory transfers are. As we get into July, then I'll come back and report what the final transfers were as we close out books.
Mr. President, I would like to remove 2.5, the lease
Well, I was
agreement.
going to finish.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Finish.
Okay, go ahead.
2.4 is the Louisville contract. This is the contract to play football games down at Lewis Field. We're looking at potentially, most likely, the last time we have to do this. So excited about that. Hadley lease agreement. This is a 2-year contract for our Hayes Virtual School to be down there at Hadley. It's served us for the last, I think, 4 years. It's been a nice place. And we have now a 2-year contract going forward. Of course, Chris talked about the approval for the end-of-year budget transfers. In personnel, I don't believe we have tons of employment and resignations, but also no retirements that I think are on the personnel. Of course, we have the Board of Ed calendar. This is just part of getting the calendar set up for the next year. It is a reciprocal calendar with all dates with the exception of January 6th or first January meeting being deleted, basically because we find that meeting somewhat after everything is shut down for a couple of weeks through the holidays. There's just not a lot of business action to take place, so we feel like we could not have that on the calendar. So that's what's on the consent.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I would like to remove 2.5, the lease agreement, 2.6, get more details on the transfers, and 2.8 for calendar.
Okay. Jess, if you could move those below
Do you want
6.4.
them at the top of action or the bottom?
Let's make them at the bottom after 6.4. And with those changes...
Mr. President?
Yes.
I have a quick question about 2.4
Okay.
on the Lewis Field. Is that the same rate we've been paying?
Yes, that's the exact same rate. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda
So
with those
moved.
changes?
Second.
Okay. Have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor vote yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed vote no.
Who made the motion?
Yep. And it was seconded by Alan.
I assumed I did.
Do we need to refresh?
Yeah, you'll need to.
Okay.
Except, hold on before you move on. I need to change these items.
Okay.
There we go.
While you're doing that, are we good to go on, Jess?
Yeah.
All right, so at this time, we are at public comment. Is there anyone here who wishes to make a public comment? Okay. Seeing none, we'll go on to the superintendent's report.
Okay, just wanted to update the board a little bit about our 13th Street project that I included in your packet. Once again, for new board members, this is a project that's being in coordination with the city of Hayes for the widening of 13th Street after we add the new high school out there. We did bid the project. Only got one bidder to bid, and felt like that it was just not the right time to send the bids out. It was just too compressed with the summer schedule starting. So we're going to go back. The engineer is going to do some fine tuning on some of the project, on some of the specs for the project. We're going to send this back out here in July, 1st of July, hopefully knowing that we'll have a longer span of time for the construction people to look at that project, as it can go all the way up until the summer, summer of 25. And so people will be able to maybe have a better sense of getting it on their schedule, and we can get some better bids. So I'll most likely be bringing bids back to you here in August, and if bids are approved, we could see some work there starting on 13th as soon as possible. Most likely not the asphalt work, as that will probably be pushed back to the summer time or late spring. But once again, lots of work that will be included on this project. We do have a portion of it as a district to take care of, and some of those things will be our responsibility. So, and I've listed those out there for you. So just wanted to give an update on that.
Who's the engineer?
The engineer is MK EC out of Kansas City.
So shared by us and the city then?
Yes, and they're also the engineers who we work with on the high school project. They've also working with the city.
I guess, how do we decide what our part is versus the city, and like, how did, like, 2/3, 1/3, like? What?
Well, how it was basically decided is the area directly, and I think I didn't include the map this time. I have included it in the past. There's a map. It's basically the area directly in front of our school area will be this portion that we will pay for, as well as some of the upgrades for just the safety pedestrian walkways and things for students. Those are our portions. So
Then I guess, why is it coming out of capital outlay, not the bond? If it was known expense for the high school.
well, once again, those are projects that we feel don't directly impact student learning, as they impact just getting kids to school. And
That's
so
part of it. I mean, got to get there to learn.
it's kind of how we've been operating the whole time. I mean, we have set that up in our capital outlay plan.
Well, I get it, but like, I mean, on the capital outlay, there's tennis courts, supposedly. I mean, how do we decide that was capital outlay? Then some of the sports stuff. I mean, I guess wasn't out of the bond either. The football field was not, correct? Or the football field is?
Football field is covered.
Okay, so the football field's out of the bond, then, potentially some tennis courts are not. Like, it
That's
seems
part
kind
of
of
the building
piecemeal.
project. I mean, if you've seen the drawings,
have.
the field is directly connected to the building.
Well,
So under the Kansas Department of Transportation, it states the school zone starts at the front door of the school and includes the entire campus and as many of the surrounding neighborhood blocks that have significant level of school-generated traffic. This includes the streets along the perimeter of the school and the area 1 or 2 blocks surrounding it. When identifying a school zone, you should consider all types of travel modes and route possibilities. This zone should then be marked with special signage to alert drivers of the high concentration of children. School crossing signs, speed signs, school zones pavement marking, and other calming devices remind drivers to treat the area with attention. The school zone program is an excellent program, so I've reached out to Ron in regards to a program. Unfortunately, the city of Hayes doesn't qualify because we have more than 20,000 people in our district, but Ron and I have visited about looking into this to see if they could engineer any benefits to this district in regards to helping fund that project.
like some
But it
grants.
is our responsibility as the school, just like the city has a responsibility. It's because it's our campus and our area, from what I understood.
Okay.
And I did visit with KDOT today about that. And I don't want to put them on the spot to say something that may
Sure.
that she felt like, based upon what I was telling her, and I did send her the traffic impact study that was performed. She said that she'd need that, and as well as a little bit about our project. And so she is going to do some work and then get back with us. And she felt like if everything, there might be some ability for us to get some.
Great. Thank you for reaching out.
Good job.
Oh, are we done on that? Okay. Also, I just want to talk a little bit about some open teaching vacancies. I think update the board a little bit. I think we have danced around this issue of open positions and not being able to fill those teaching positions. Many of the local districts around us and across the state have struggled with this. We're starting to feel that impact somewhat here. I listed right now several positions inside our district that are currently still open. An elementary vocal teaching position at Laughlin, a special education position at Roosevelt, a math position at Hayes High, a pre-K position at ECC, and then we also have some special education positions at some of our outside districts in our SPED co-op. Once again, these are things that we're consistently and really trying to be creative in looking at possibilities to how we can fill these positions, because right now all of these we have zero. I shouldn't say zero. We have, I think today we heard that we might have one certified applicant for one of these positions. Doesn't necessarily mean we haven't offered that position, but we have to look at things differently and creatively. We attended, Shannon and I attended a summit at Fort Hays last week, and primarily the talk was just about ways to look at recruiting and retaining teachers into the profession. And some of the things that I think Fort Hays has joined with KSDE on a teacher apprentice program where people who are wanting to go into teacher education, they can have the ability, if hired full-time by the district, can fill some of those positions. It's a little unique and it's a little different than we've ever done before, but we're forced to start looking at those kinds of opportunities. The good news that we found out at the summit was Fort Hays has told us that they have the highest number of student teachers they've had ever, I think. I think they were saying 127 student teachers this fall semester. And so that is exciting. That lets us know that people are still looking at the profession, not avoiding it. But in the short term, we're going to have to be fairly creative and open to maybe looking at different options to fill some of these positions. I would tell you, all of these positions, I think we have, when I say we don't have certified teaching applicants, we might have a plan B in place that we feel like if everything will work out, we'll be able to fill them with individuals. But that may not be certified at this point. But we all just kind of wanted to get the board informed a little bit about where we're at with things.
So I know that the district attends the job fair at Fort Hays to help, or the teaching job fair at Fort Hays to help recruit teachers. And I know that the district also gets a ton of influx of paras from the college. I was wondering if we were doing anything special or specific to try and get more students to want to be student teachers in the district, because that can lead to more job fillings.
I don't know. I feel like our partnership with Fort Hays, we are pretty much given like as many as we are willing to take and can take on. We have to make sure it's a good experience and we have the right cooperating teacher for them. But I can definitely ask admin if they feel like we have the capacity for more, because that, especially if their numbers are growing, because of course they have other partners beyond us. But they're really great to work with there at Fort Hays, so I definitely can have that conversation.
I feel like it might be worth looking into being in contact with a lot of students daily and having a lot of conversations, especially with students in the teaching program. I'm hearing more often that they're wanting to go home. I mean, which makes sense. Economic times are very difficult, but they're wanting to go home, and like Hays, student teaching in Hays is not even an option. And that is very different than what it used to be. It used to be almost like a prestige. But I didn't know if there was anything like to get more students in the para positions, in the student teaching positions to kind of funnel through. But
I think that what you're saying, though, the studies say that oftentimes, the best thing we can do is what's happening at the high school with the educator pathway to what Jennifer Old's doing, is
Right.
growing our own, starting in high school, because often kids are returning home. They're seeing like a large percentage. Fort Hays has those numbers. So you're right, some of them are choosing to go home because that's where they want to be, but we can definitely have that conversation. There's a barrier on our part, we want
Right,
to know,
right.
and be able to try to remove that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Plan B, or part of Plan B, is sponsored teaching, student teaching positions, because naturally we have to have someone to fill that position. There's maybe one of those positions that could possibly end up being sponsored. Not necessarily that's the case. We don't know if we're going to go that direction, but those are some things that we are looking about at. If we just can't, and sponsored means we pay them. So, and we have done that in the past on a very limited basis, only on it when we just need someone. But this is a little unique.
So my educational path was very unique. I pretty much took every educational course except for student teaching. I was very stubborn. I was not going to be a teacher. And then I was like, oh, just kidding. So I did T2T. And I will tell you, not having that student teaching with a teacher there to supervise and to plan with, that was a huge disservice. And if I could go back and redo anything, it would be student teaching. So I understand. I do get it. But also I would not want that.
Well, it's finding out the mentor experience is fairly important. It'll be way more important when we have a sponsored position. And technically, they can't be the teacher of record. We have to have someone available to be in the classroom as needed. So, yeah, those.
Would that someone have to be in the same area? So like math and math, or could it be like math and ag? Or
I don't think necessarily they have to be. We've tried to get them in the summer field. I mean, I just think it naturally helps a teacher, but I don't think there's the same conversation.
okay, thanks.
And that's all I have, which normally also I usually give you a update on the bond. Tonight I have the real experts in the house, and so I thought they could do the bond update tonight since they are here tonight. So Brett Collins, Dylan Weddle will.
So Brett Collins, project executive with Apple, and I got Dylan Weddle, the project manager for the project. So thanks for having us. I think we got some pretty exciting, neat things to show you here for the update.
You want to try to get it on all the screens? If you go to the 49 BOE room instead of the LG?
I'm not getting that one.
That was not showing up?
No. Oh, there we go. I also have Brett Stevens. He's our senior superintendent. We're home on for us too, so we can talk through it. I'm just glad you guys dialed down the wind a little bit today for us. We were walking on site, and it was pretty impressive wind out here. So again, thanks for having us. We're going to start out with Roosevelt project update. Right now, they have 2 projects under construction: is Roosevelt and then obviously Hayes High. So that's the 2 that we're going to talk through this evening.
So this area right here, you guys can see this is the addition. So that's got your new gym in it, along with the new classrooms that are off to that east side of the building. Right now, we're still working at the main concourse area, the learning park area. So there's still a good amount of work to do in there. We're just now getting into the love ceiling rough ends. Most of this area is going along very well. We've also just moved into the existing gym and commons area. You guys are also using, I believe, the cafeteria. So that's getting changed out right now. We're on our final phases of the remodel throughout the school. So right there is actually that commons area there on the left page, and then showing the tool shelter earlier, gymnasium on the right page. But as of right now, it's running very well, and it's moving along.
Yeah, so over the summer, you'll see a lot more activity outside. I know it was mentioned we had some demo and some trees. We'll start getting the parking lots and the drives in. Trailers will move out. and a lot of the activities on the existing side. So we're getting that done. That'll be up and ready and done for the start of the school year. Then here's kind of a snapshot of the schedule. You'll see that.
Nope,
Kind of
can't
that
see
little
it.
faint line. Yeah, I know it's hard to zoom in.
See it at all.
If you get to fit on a page, but there's a real faint line or there's a bar graph on the side. That's basically where we're at today in the progress. You can see where a lot of it's wrapping up. Originally, GMP-wise, we were going to be wrapping up in December. Right now, it's looking sometime end of October, which is great news. We've actually been able to get a little ahead of the game for Roosevelt. So that one should be wrapping up sometime, hopefully mid-fall. Here's a financial update. You can see the two big numbers down at the bottom. Again, it's probably a little hard to read. The reason why there was a little bit of change or delta there is we did need to provide some temporary classrooms at O'Laughlin, just due to capacity that was there. Other than that, everything in the GMP has stayed the same, and we've been able to maintain the budget.
So Brett, question for you as far as Roosevelt goes. The trees that you removed, is that going to be teacher parking? Are they extending that as
That
teacher?
is actually, so the parking goes to that direction to the south and then also to the north there. So yes, that will be taken. A big part of that is also we have to do a retention area with the rear wall. So basically for all the site runoff or split to go ahead and be able to take your guys, the rainwater that's going to come off site to be able to leave prior to completing this thing.
Okay, and the fencing that's been removed, that will go back up at
The fencing will
once
be
schools?
reinstalled once we put in the new bus lane and everything else that goes in there.
Okay.
The trees, I'm sorry, the trees that you removed, were any of them saved, or are we going to, could you use them at other places in the,
I'm sure they were filled
shoot.
with bugs. They were a mess.
well, I know that the Parks Department, did you talk to them? Because they're looking for trees for ruin breaks, and so I didn't know, because they could be removed. There's
These were
people in town that can remove them.
They were 75, 80 footers. I watched them go down.
Yeah, they
Brand, I
So
mean,
they
big
were just
branch
all
by big
destroyed.
Filled with bag
Yeah,
bugs.
there's probably examples for trying to get that over elm tree system.
They were.
So you always got to look at the tree. It's
Cedars were on the other
same
side.
size as the tree. So they're trying to get a spud set to go into.
They were all the same size? Okay.
I give you 90%.
They were
Thank you.
Any other questions, Roosevelt? I know we breezed through that, but it's going well. Same thing, the new high school. This one is also going very well.
Yeah. So this is Hayes High. So the picture on the left, you can actually see us standing in the recast of the Performing Arts Center. So that's actually in the seating area, not behind the stage. That went out really well. We actually ended up staying in that for just at a week. We still got some welding details to do inside, but the actual stage of it went pretty good right out of the week. On the right-hand side of the page, that's looking into Area C, so overlooking the learning stairs and back into your kitchen area. And then also hall area A behind it, so very large amount of classrooms. Just that, look at that page, you're looking at around 45,000 square feet of the classroom, pretty close to. So very good chunk of the project. The one on the left, that is area A, so our first, second, deck, floor, which will be going on Thursday morning at 3 a.m. So you guys are out and about, you'll see some concrete trucks running around. The picture on the left is showing the Performing Arts being stood there in the back stage, and also overviewing the area A and area B, which there's divided all in between. You guys can kind of see on the map or on the picture, which is the scene block wall going up through there. And you can actually see the radius. So you can see the gate, the yellow there, that's the radius of the area C. So that's your main entrance there. Yet again, we have the learning stairs on the left and looking into area B prior to the deck going on. And then you can see the radius starting here that goes in that big concourse area. Then we have, looks like Performing Arts at about 75%. And continue to get on. We actually got the D slide on grade that day. So this is the FEMA shelter starting. Then also this is the fly around. So it's a pretty intricate area for the FEMA. You got all of the floor, you got double T roof. So the same thing you might see underneath the bridge. That's your roof inside, that'll be inside of the secondary gym. Kind of a nice wall in between. And then you see areas, see all the steel sun throughout that big radius area. This is the full car center again. And we've got sea view, you can see right there going up, and also getting what looks like our storm sewer put in. And that's that area, the slab on grade, so that other slab right there is coming off, that's going to be all green offices and principal assistants, building plans. Again, this is all area A here, the far side, closest to our camera. It's around the 22,000 square foot area. Balance going very low, we should be dropping it on Thursday morning.
I believe we took this video late Thursday, Friday, maybe Wednesday. So that gives you a
That's
pretty up to date and accurate of where we're sitting at.
Right now, the FEMA shelter is at about 75%, so if you look at it right there. So it's running pretty good. We're on track to get it stacked out at least by the end of the week. That's how I have this done. We can have the detailing there. And then go back to the top slabs and stuff.
So apologies, it's still small, but it's hard to get down. And this schedule is actually, 16 pages, 17 pages. And it breaks it down in much, much further detail with all of our trades and everything else. Again, that line there on the, we call it Gantt chart, the bar graph, shows where we're sitting at today and the progress of each area, as Brett was mentioning, area A, B, C, D, and then kind of what they're flag wing or the other wheels. Moving forward, we'll start getting our drywall, framing and drywall stuff getting started. A lot of our MEP, which is the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, you're going to see more and more of that going on. A lot more people probably showing up to the job site to start all this stuff. Financial update. Again, I'll show the two numbers at the bottom. There's been no increase there. Breaking out how we have all the other items, whether it's the construction, design, other costs, and then the contingency. We do need to allocate some of the advised contingency, which you guys have a packet for that PCCO. I think it's one for that, which I know is an action item, but that's showing the breakdown of where that would apply or take place. That's it, unless there's any further comment or questions.
Can we get those slides?
We have them. They're in there.
Where you can find?
Yep.
They're at the bottom of,
Put them at the bottom. All right.
It's a very large file when we add continues.
Is that
Do you see it?
or is that
Okay,
blue
thank
or
you.
black, that top part of this? Oh, right there. Is that actual color that's going to be?
I believe it's close, but it's a rendering, so it's not maybe exact. I'd have to get that from the DLR designer on the exact. It probably gives you a.
Is it black or what is it?
No, it's like a charcoal, I think it is.
It's a charcoal and a sandstone below to kind of go more with your native stone, I believe, right?
Yeah.
The city of Hayes had a rendering on one of their newsletters and it was bright blue. And so I was kind of curious about
Sometimes when they
that.
have the renderings or if it prints out, it does a little more. That's why I don't want to say it's exact.
Okay.
Probably get that from the law.
I guess as far as change orders, like pretty standard stuff, was there anything like, one was 46,000, the rest were kind of smaller, I guess one for 18,
Yeah.
like what was going on there, what changed?
Yeah, a lot of it's, as we go through the spittle and design process, it further breaks down the details, and that's what drove those, was the further definition of those drawings and the addition for those materials.
Okay, and with that said, we're
We kind
going
of, and Derek does, I think we try to explain exactly what it was. And why
Yeah, I was looking through. Did we already order the joists and then we're getting new ones that are heavy? Like,
No,
okay.
it's they haven't been ordered.
Okay, so this is all
So it's
just,
kind of defining it further.
Gotcha.
If it was defined further in the CD's construction documents, we would have had it in the GUP, but as we've defined it further, that's why we advise to have that contingency for use to apply to these things, so we're not coming back and asking, it's in the bond. And then any of those unused portions of that contingency, moves further in to the land project or back to you.
Joe, all I can find the high school budget, I can't find the Roosevelt, and I can't find either of the timelines in that.
For Roosevelt from the presentation.
Yeah.
It should be our exact.
I didn't.
Just put it in the public of the, just put it there.
You may have to refresh
Okay.
probably to see it.
I'll keep going.
Kurt, we can get it to you.
Okay, all right.
Like I said, might get creative on
Yeah, they're full PowerPoints there, Kurt.
Yeah, it's right. It's called.
Can you guys see it?
Yeah, I've
Everybody
had it
with me.
open for a minute.
It's there somehow, I'm sure.
And as we keep progressing through this whole process, again, Laughlin's going to go out to bid. I know that's on.
You're the man. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Laughlin will go out to bid end of June, end of July. We'll come back and try to do this a little bit more, give you more of a snapshot update, schedule update, see where we're sitting.
I guess looking at the bond on your slide for the high school, guaranteed maximum price is $113,900,000. On ours, bond accounts, it's budgeted for $110,800,000. Where's the difference there? Thank you, Ruth. Up $2 million. Yeah, it's financials that puts out.
Our GMP amount is there at the top.
Is it the other cost?
It's 104,993.5.
Yeah, it's kind of our numbers as far as the stuff outside of.
I don't know if it might be that other cost. That's technically not with us. We're trying to help manage the whole bond.
Yeah, sure.
That way, there's not any moves.
So you mentioned O'Laughlin. So O'Laughlin is about 15 million, Roosevelt's 19 million?
I think we're targeting O'Laughlin 14.1.
14.1, okay.
That's roughly where it's at.
And we're not increasing O'Laughlin at all as far as, we're some square footage, but as far as the number of sections or anything, it's all going to be just an additional upgrade, I guess, for 15 million or 14.1.
There's renovations of the existing, and then there's the expansions on the sides.
But the square footage is like 20,000 square feet?
It's around that, yeah.
So
It's a little less.
for 14 million for 20,000 square feet, where's the money? I know there's a road there that's probably going to cost, is there a breakdown going to be on all that?
Yeah, we'll provide the exact same that we would on that one that we did the others.
Because I'm looking and driving by Roosevelt and seeing what they have, and then I saw the little additions, 20,000 square feet, because Roosevelt has how many square feet added to that?
40,000.
Double?
No, sorry, it's 20.
It's around 20,000. It's a little over 20,000.
20,000, and then a total remodel of how many classrooms? Almost the whole school, right?
It's basically.
And we're talking $4 million difference, so I'm just trying to understand the difference in the price.
Like you mentioned, the biggest thing for O'Laughlin is that road coming out and around, and then the retention areas that are necessary because of that added square footage on the building and the added pavement area. So every time we add anything that water can't get through, you have to add more site work basically to accommodate that. And then the other portion of it is that O'Laughlin is a lot further behind on renovation than Roosevelt was, as far as the state of the classrooms. A lot of them still have 1x1 ceiling tile or asbestos tile in some of the areas. That's much better. And so there's a lot more renovation that has to happen in there.
In O'Laughlin?
In O'Laughlin than what had to happen.
But we have new construction there. I call it new. It's only 10 years old or something like that. There's how many classrooms and have been with the addition? There was like the 04 edition and then
As part of
O'Laughlin, and then they had another edition. So those were probably in pretty good shape. You're probably just getting paint and carpet, maybe.
Paint carpet.
So those are no big remodels, but you're talking about some of the other things. Now, so we added a secure entrance on the front, and now we're going to scrap that. We're going to leave it and just put another one on the south side.
On O'Laughlin.
Yes. I'm on.
Yeah, there will be a new entrance on the south side.
Were you part of the design team or?
No.
No, he's the project manager. We're all construction.
All construction,
Yeah,
okay.
design here.
So is that normal 1.1 design cost for a 14th? Is that still the same?
That saves the line.
That's percentage-wise is,
Yeah. That saves the line.
Okay.
And probably a little bit to the point too is that big drive too. And it's kind of a low-lying area for water.
You had mentioned that we were targeting about 30% local construction at Roosevelt, or do you have a report or way? Are we good at that?
Not any different than what we had before, which was probably a while back. I have to dig that one back up because I know we did present on that.
So are we staying on track with that and or exceeding that would be great if we could.
We'd
No,
like to exceed it.
on Roosevelt, are we?
So that wouldn't have changed from when we locked in the contract. We're still using the same people and still using the same.
And we're still going to be at 30, we could take 30% of that 19 million and say that goes to Hayes Contractors?
Whatever the percentage we get, yeah. We don't lock in at 30%. I can't remember what that was.
And then it was 20% at Hayes High, so
Yeah.
that's what you
But
mentioned.
it is, just understand, they have to bid the project, so it's, I mean, we just
We haven't bid a
can't
lot.
give 30% of the
Right.
local people if they have a high bid.
I understand that there's a lot of decisions on getting local, because I know you got some fencing people, you go
We're
local,
already
and plumbers and electricians.
I think we called the newspaper last week, or Damon, to advertise, getting out of your local bid docs online as well. And honestly, I have to say, the RDHs in the world, the works, they've been great to work with. We want to keep that up.
Has Glassman one of those?
M&D's been there a lot.
Yeah, M&D has been, everybody has met or exceeded our expectations on it.
That's awesome.
I keep working with them. I mean, I couldn't say enough good things about RDH and the local.
When I drive by, I see a lot of locals. I do see a lot of locals there, especially Roosevelt, because Roosevelt's close enough for you to see.
Because there is an advantage. They have the local knowledge.
But all the pre-construction, pre-casting, all that's coming out of Kansas City, is that correct?
Yeah, there's not many precasters out there. That's all prefabricated concrete panels.
Right.
And I don't even know if the state of Kansas even has. But
And those were bid?
Enterprise.
Those were bid in Kansas City, or?
It's been everywhere. We we went to multiple, one thing is to try to get it as economical as possible. But
Of course.
the flip side of that is try to get it as local as possible. So we weigh those out.
But we had local people there too, when they were casting those walls. I think there was a couple RDH guys, when they were doing those walls, that were there,
Yep.
They go on site and put it all on the road.
that I'm aware of, yeah. So,
Great, thank you.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. We may call you up as we get into this next section.
Stay right
You
there.
might as well stay.
Okay. So we're going to move into 6.1, Hayes High Design Change Order Modifications. And so, board members, do any of you have questions concerning these?
You can definitely.
I guess, kind of been asking for budget and stuff throughout the time. This is the first I heard about the $1 million contingency. I mean, it makes sense. I see why we do it, but just, I mean, as far as all the numbers, I haven't got anything that the public or anybody else hasn't already got. So
I think it's been there,
where do you have it accounted for? Is it under the program for the overall budget for the bond?
Yeah, yes. I
In
mean,
the financial update?
Yeah.
That level of detail, no, not in that. That's an overview of the total projects, but
Yeah.
as they presented guaranteed max and as they presented budget, then it's in those. But we haven't been providing monthly that level of detail.
Well, no, but I mean, there could be like, we have a contingency of $1 million for the whole bond project, whatever we don't use here rolls over to the other stuff. Like,
But we haven't used it, this is the first time we've used it, that's why we haven't talked about it.
well, I understand, but I've asked about, different budgeting processes and how we're doing stuff, so I can be informed and haven't got anything. But as far as like, adding up the project accounts budget totals to $162 million, I mean, where in that $162 million is the $1 million for the contingency?
It's all a part of the total budget for the high school. That's what you're saying. So there's the GMP part, the
Yeah.
guaranteed max part, but then there's also in the other, all of those, so it's mixed into those.
Okay, because I have it with the guaranteed maximum price and then the design, that'd be $6 million, so it'd be 110. I mean, that comes up to the same number, the 110 million with the design and construction, without like an extra $1 million for the numbers don't seem to, I get like 20,000 here or there, but $1 million is quite a bit of money.
Yeah, we don't anticipate we're going to use $1 million. That would be, I will tell you that they've told me this will not be the last change orders we get. You have a $100 million building, you're going to have change orders.
Agreed.
So, and that's money is just set aside so that we can take care of those. It doesn't shortchange. We don't have to cut square footage or anything like that.
I just don't see the accounting for it, like, hey, this money set aside. I guess I would like that sort of detail for me to look over personally. Yeah, and you'll start to see that now. I'm not asking to see in the future. I'm asking to see what we have predicted going forward, so I can see if what we're predicting now actually lines up with what it comes to fruition. Like, I want to see this is what we're expecting, this is what we get, and see how close we are. I expect some overages. I expect things that we don't foresee, but I'd like to at least know what we're thinking now so I can compare it to what actually happens.
So if we go back to when the guaranteed max was approved, in that detailed budget that was presented there, that's where that information is at. So we can pull that up.
Yeah, if you would please email it to me, I'd appreciate it.
So there's six
Which one?
change orders on here. There's been work change orders before now.
We had
You haven't changed any sidewalks or anything?
October.
before
Okay.
probably.
And all
Our intent is not to do that. It's a lot of work to get do this. We'd rather just deliver the GMP as the stance.
And these are things you find as you're going along and then go, hey, this isn't quite.
Yeah, further detailing, further, refining how things, the Legos get put together. It's just really getting down. It's bringing in the trade partners to analyze and making sure everything's going to fit.
And then they come across some suggestions that this doesn't quite.
This doesn't,
Yeah, I think I would call most of these in here a design clarification of some sort. And whenever DLR puts out a drawing set, they can't have every single possible detail figured out. It's just, it doesn't work that way because they don't know what product is going to get put into a building. So they have to give contractors options if you want to use this storefront contractor or that one or this one. Once they narrow that down and we have a contractor locked in and they see that submittal that shows how it's going to be put together, then they have to pivot and adjust.
They do like a shot drawing.
That's fair enough.
It takes it down to like menu.
Thank you.
Brett, I'm sorry, I'm jumping back to Roosevelt. In the remodel, we've got like a rubber tile in the hallways. Is that going to be the same in the new construction, or is it different?
For Laughlin, you mean?
No, I'm talking about Roosevelt.
Yes, there's rubber tile.
It's the whole building's the rubber tile?
Rubber tile and carpet and then some athletic flooring in the gym.
Do you know any other schools that you put that in?
It's been a lot more common now, is moving to rubber tile. I'm not a designer, so I couldn't tell you why that is, but...
It's awful hard to keep clean.
Yeah, we've been putting it in for a while now, past few years.
There's always a flip side to the coin, some of them are putting in, polished concrete or,
Terrazzo would be best, but I know how expensive that is.
That's expensive. So it's that plus and minus, you get kind of different things with different products.
But when I went on the tour to Roosevelt, they said it was way less maintenance for cleaning supplies and that kind of stuff too. So the savings that we have because we're using that flooring is beneficial, very beneficial. Won't have to spend your whole summer paying staff to polish floors.
Stripping times.
Right.
All right.
But you can walk, when the kids come in from recess, you can see their footprints all the way through. You can follow where they go, because that's where they'll be.
Or the teachers that snuck in a week early.
Yeah. Well,
There's a little bit of dust in case. I'll clean before I...
So I'm going to bring us back to the design change.
Do you want a motion?
I'm asking for a motion, yes.
I would move to approve the change orders as presented.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further questions or discussion?
This whole amount's coming out of our contingency fund, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And as far as our percentage of what we're using now, you feel comfortable?
That's a great question. I should have mentioned that. We're probably about 25-30% complete in the high school, and this is using roughly 8%.
8%?
And
Total contingency.
your risk as you come out of the ground, I call it anchor bolts up. There's kind of different levels of risk. We're as we get slabs in, we're getting Mother Nature out of it. There's a lot less risk. We're getting through the shop growing process, which probably very well ahead of that. You get a roof on the building, it's another level of risk that decreases. So I'm very happy with where we stand on that risk standpoint of only at 8% here, and we're 25-30% complete.
25% complete of the whole project?
Yeah.
All right. Well, at this time, we have a motion and a second. I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion to accept the change order design modifications as presented, vote yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, vote no.
No.
All right. And that passes. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, guys.
And we are going to move on to 6.2, school fees, lunch fees.
Yep, we have looked at school fees and lunch fees. A recommendation on school fees, as we look and just understand, as we have the last several years, we have really tried to chip away at some of the fees, back to school fees that have occurred. Every year I feel like we've done a little, and we're still continuing to try and help our families, because we understand that is a huge cost when they enroll for school. So our recommendation is that the fees that for last year will continue, with the exception we will discontinue the $50 activity fee at the middle school and high school levels. So that's per student, and we feel like that will be a big help to our families to see that reduction there. If you look at our fees, primarily the elementary is still the cheapest, $17. I don't have to pull that up.
It's 70.
70, where middle school ranges from
95.
95, and then high school is right at that, or depending upon what choices. Okay, so we've really tried to continue to chip away at those fees and feel like this is the best recommendation for our families as they come back to school. I feel like we'll feel good about being able to do that and being able to still sustain the levels that we've had currently. Also, along with that, we're recommending lunch fees increase a nickel for the upcoming year. Just remember, breakfast we have been offering free, and we still want to offer that free. I don't know, Chris, you want to talk a little bit about the lunch?
Yeah, I mean, as you can see, so we're a couple of different things. Over the last few years, there's been additional funding, federal funding, to assist with the food program. So because of that, we've been carrying a pretty healthy carryover, and we haven't had to increase school lunch fees since 2019. Now that those additional subsidies are going away, when you look at food costs from 2019, it's up about 48%. A nickel, quite frankly, the lunch prices are a part of the revenue, but the lion's share of the revenue for the food service program is from the Farm Bill and from the feds. To stay in pace, though, we feel like we need to increase a nickel. That would be an $8 increase per student over the course of the year, if a student ate every day. Part of the reason we're doing that is because we are using some more money to help do the free breakfast program for every kid. I feel like by doing the $8 at lunch, we can continue for another year doing breakfast for all the students.
I think it's impressive, 5 cents, guys. I really do. I think
The price of food.
you did with the price of food. I think that's more than fair. So kudos to you guys for doing that research as far as that goes.
And I got to say, I'm very happy that we're taking the $50 fee off of high school and middle school. That'll help many families in our district.
I do want to verify that that doesn't cut off an activity or put an activity fee on those kids who would participate Okay.
Nothing will change.
That's
No.
amazing. That's
It will
amazing.
be, I mean, as with everything, right, the pot of money is this, but as the general fund money has come back and we've seen steady enrollment, which is a huge factor, so keeping steady to rising enrollment is the biggest factor. And then as state aid, as it followed the state aid funding formula, we've had the increase of CPI from last year to this year. We will have that again next year. We would anticipate about a 4% increase in revenue next year. So it's taking some of that general fund money and replacing what had to come from fees, because at one point in time, we didn't have enough general fund money to do that, so.
So Mr. Wilson, all the fees that were covered with the $50 are still there. We're just grabbing the money for a different.
Yes, everything they will have those funds.
And the negative lunches that students still had at the end of the year, are those covered? Do we still have funds? Because I know last year it said somebody donated funds for that.
So there has been, year over year, there's been donations made to the food service fund, and they work with parents that have negative balances so that no kid goes without a meal. We don't, you hear those stories. That doesn't happen in Hayes. We've had donors and we've had ways for the food service to be able to help the parents that have needed it, so.
Wonderful.
Mr. President, I move to approve the school fees as presented.
A second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Have we looked at the possibility of having some type of a discount for multiple kids, for the families that bring 5, 6 kids?
We did discuss it, kind of settled on the activity fee would be where we would like to focus our reduction this year. Might be something, once again, as I've said, we have continued to try and chip each year by taking a little bit each year. I think it's something that maybe possibly next year, that might be the next logical move on how we can help try to reduce fees for families.
I guess also, have we looked at like Venmo or something else besides the credit card fees? It said it was like $12,000 a year or something that, kids can still use electronic, but maybe not have the fees from the credit card.
So we've looked at many, we've tried out and landed on different services. All of them have really fairly similar fees once you get to the enterprise level.
Okay.
So, I mean, we've done PayPal, we've done Square, we've done RevTrack is what we're using now, and some others. They've all had similar fees, so, yeah.
I would just reiterate, we have to protect ourselves though, as far as using Venmo and stuff on our network and those types of things. So those are things we need to be very clear of fraud, so.
All right, I have a motion and a second. So I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor of approving the motion to approve school fees as presented, vote yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, vote no. All right. Okay, which brings us to 6.3, a long list of KASB recommended board policy updates for a first read.
Yeah, you do have a long list of policy updates. I thought I would just give you a little bit of background on each of those. And then, once again, this is the first read. There's no action tonight. You'll have the opportunity to look through these and ask questions at the next meeting. Just the policy BBG, which is about consultants, that policy is completely being deleted because it was going to be addressed in another policy, and that's policy CJ, which is down below. It's several down, and it's just basically just how consultants can be engaged at the board level and how we can utilize using consultants from time to time. So going back up, there's policy BCBK, that's executive session. Really no big change to executive session other than they just deleted a sample motion that's always been part of the policy, and they kind of use some examples later on to clarify. It's really not a big change. There is a lot of red in there, but it's not necessarily a big change. On Policy CL, administrative teams, is just a technical change. I can't remember the wordings, but it has some, they changed some, one word in that. Policy EBVG is a cardiac emergency response plan. During the legislative session this year, a law was passed requiring each school board to establish a comprehensive cardiac emergency response plan for our district. This is a policy that just outlines those requirements. And we will be updating the board as that occurs. Most of the things that are in that are things that we're already doing, but we'll be, I've had conversations with Jessica Rowe, our head school nurse, about helping to put that together. We'll be sharing that with the board as needed. Policy EE, which is a food service management policy. This policy was established way back during COVID, and it allowed our district to serve students who technically did not come to our school. So any remote learners could be served school meals. Because that's over with, we can't do that. We can't serve meals to remote learners. And so this policy is just removing that piece that was added during COVID. Policy GARIA, it is basically just a policy that addresses the new Title IX regulations that will go into effect in August, and it's prohibiting us from discriminating against any parent, family, or based upon their conditions, or I think it's sexual orientations or things of that nature. Similar policy GAAC, this deals with staff, our employees, basically prohibiting us from discriminating on the basis of sex stereotypes, pregnancy, any related conditions, sexual orientation, and gender identity. Policy ID, ID is the instructional program, and basically this is a very simple change there. Instead of it saying certified personnel, it changes it to licensed.
Where's that one? What is that one again?
Policy ID, is it not in there?
No.
It's IC in our thing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I see.
ID, I see.
Oh, okay.
My bad. Policy IF is textbooks and instructional materials and media center. This policy has just been changed a little bit to add some criteria on reviewing, a book and by a review committee, and how many times that book can be reviewed. So there is policy changes there. There is a policy JBE, which is just an update on the earnings and employment rates, and that gets changed from time to time. And once again, policy JGEC this deals with students, basically, with the new Title IX regulations, that we cannot discriminate against students for their sexual stereotypes, sex characteristics, pregnancy-related conditions, sexual orientation, or gender identity. Where am I at? Then we have the policy JGFGA. That's the administration of emergency opioid antagonists. This just allows us to provide Narcan. We do have Narcan in all of our buildings at this point, and this just is a type of training that's required for staff to administer that. Policy JH, part of the legislative session last year that allowed for virtual school students to participate in extracurricular activities and not have to come to a certain number of classes on campus. This is just a board policy to allow that to happen. And then policy KK, it's the disposal of district property. Basically, it's with how we can get rid of a building, and there was some issues with sometimes the legislature, if they aren't in session, and then you have 45 days, then it could delay on how they've now established that the Legislative Coordinating Council, the LCCC, can make that determination, and we don't have to wait until the legislature is back in session before we can get rid of the building. So that's just the policy there. Once again, this is just first read. It's your opportunity to look through all the policies, ask questions. I think Bill has looked at all the policies, and we've had some conversations. So I think he's, I don't know, maybe he has some issues. I didn't think so, but I think.
Well, as you know, the Title IX regulations have been, last I saw, 26 states who have filed lawsuits in various federal courts questioning the constitutionality of those regulations, which don't come into effect until August 1st. So there could be a possibility that something may develop as far as Kansas is concerned with enforcing those regulations. That's up in the air at this point. Kansas being one of those states that has filed a lawsuit. So that's something to keep an eye on. The rest of everything there is all based on federal or state changes in the law and adapting the policies to conform to what the law is now.
Okay. So on the Title IX ones that are related to that, are we okay to postpone those till there's a clear answer going forward, or do we need to go ahead and look at approving those?
Well, unless the court rules otherwise, they go into effect on August 1st.
Okay.
So in order to comply with the federal law, you need to adopt that by August 1st. Unless the federal court, which has jurisdiction over the state of Kansas, would rule something different.
Okay.
As far as Title IX goes, as far as gender identity, would that include like locker rooms, like whatever you identify as, or are the kids still protected? So like if somebody says they're a male and they can't go into the, okay, so a guy says he's a girl, can go into the girls' locker room with like us adopting this, or no?
Well, I think that's probably true. It's probably too early to say at this point.
Yeah, but I think this kind of goes to the safety of our kids.
There's going to be a lot of litigation and interpretation of these regulations.
Well, what's your interpretation as far as if we would? I mean, you're kind of the
I
legal
don't have one
Okay,
at this point.
so we just pass it and hope that it works out?
Do what?
We just pass it and hope that it works out?
Well, you know, if you go back and look at the history, every one of your policies are KSB generated. They're not mine.
Oh, I understand, but it's just kind of what's the legal ramification?
Questions in regards to adoption of these policies, they should be directed to KSB.
Well, I agree it's a recommendation.
My opinion holds no weight whatsoever, other than if you want to rely on it.
Well, I mean, you're kind of our legal guidance as far as what things would be interpreted as legally.
Well, when you get into areas of constitutional law and the areas that are addressed by this Title IX regulations, it's not something that every lawyer can offer an opinion on. Does that make sense to you?
It does.
It isn't any different than the medical profession, which you're in. Which, as you know, there's areas where you're in expertise, there's areas where you're not.
Well, is there somebody we can reach out to see what the ramifications might? What's
And
that?
that's what I'm saying. That would be KSB.
Did we have anybody from the district attend the KSB law last Friday? Summer's law seminar? Because that was one of their topics, was the Title IX.
I have a campus advocate on staff, and as a free component of options services, we do provide training on such things, the way that gender and gender discrimination and certain laws that the victims have rights for. And if you were interested, I could connect.
Yeah.
Any of you can individually call and get that consultation. Title IX generally protects people against discrimination. So walking into a particular room If there is an equivalent room accessible to them, often it's squishy. But participating in activities or being discriminated against or harmed based on an identity or a gender, period, because it's written to protect women initially, and we just have adapted language as time has gone on. Generally, it is making sure that opportunities are available to all students and people.
I thought we determined separate but equals, not the same.
Well,
not equal.
I mean, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, women have to be in rooms and at the table, and folks should be able to participate in activities. And if you ignore bullying or discrimination on an individual basis, that can get you in a lot of trouble. And I am not the Title IX expert, but my staff is, and is in fact serving as a representative in a Title IX trial this week. So I can get that. You can make that connection.
Sounds good.
I'm not aware of any Title IX workshops that KSB has been putting on currently. They do happen in July, and I was planning to attend Salina in July. They have a training.
Is that the summer law thing that they're advertising?
No, it's not. It's a Title IX. It's actual Title IX, and I was planning to attend that in July in Salina.
Summer law was last Friday.
Yeah, but they actually have a actual Title IX.
That's very specific.
All right. All right, so that was our first read. We'll, when it comes time to vote, when we put on the agenda, if any of you would like for some to be separated from the others, we will do that. Just let me know. Send me an email. So that puts us to 6.4, the approval of authority for year-end budget transfers. This was taken out of the consent agenda by Mr. Park. What questions do you have?
I would like Mr. Hick to kind of go through that with all those those transfers.
So what I provided is the required transfers. So at risk, we've talked about in previous meetings, but we generate at-risk weighting based on free lunches, based on the funds that we generate. That would be the minimum that we would be required to transfer from general fund to the at-risk fund. As we've talked about, in every one of these cases, we will end up transferring more than what the required is, but until we get through the end of the fiscal year, I'm just showing you what the minimum required transfers are. So it's $908,000 for at-risk, bilingual, 52. It'll be closer to 325 is what we'll transfer there. Sorry, that was out of supplemental general. General fund 2.9. I think we'll be a little above that in the at the end of the year transfer. Special ed fund 30. So everything, all special ed funding comes to general fund first. Then it goes to our district special education fund, which is fund 30. So we'll transfer it to fund 30, and then the portion that is attributable to the special ed co-op goes on to fund 78, which is the special ed co-op. We also have special ed, so even though we're a member of the co-op and they're providing all of the sped services, the district has expenses such as transportation and some equipment and things like that are specific to the district. So we'll transfer more than 3.69 to the special ed fund 30 also. The 3,691,786 is the co-op share that will go to 30 and then over to 78. So in July, I'll be able to bring you a lot more detail about where we actually ended the year and what the final fund transfers are. But until we get through the final bills and the final payrolls, it's guessing.
So at risk, we had 80,000 that was added to that when we did that republish. So we had almost $1 million in at risk that was not spent.
Huh?
908,000.
No. again, this is the minimum required transfer, so I'm simply giving you what the minimum required transfer is. I'll bring you what the actual transfer is based on actual fund expenditures at the July meeting.
And Alan, if you look back on the June meetings for the last few years, it's not out of line with what, it's pretty much in line with what we've had each time.
That just seems like a lot of money that hasn't been spent. And we don't know where it's going, so it has to be spent at risk, right?
Yeah, once in at risk, it can only be spent in at risk. Yes.
So what's the difference on that? So was the total at risk $2,900,000?
The total
for the year
minimum required transfer is 2.9. What we will end up transferring is closer to 3.16. Again, but so what we've done the last few years is in the June meeting, I bring you what the required transfers are. You give me the authority to make the end of year transfers based on actual expenditures, and then in July we bring back, okay, this is where we ended. Going forward, I don't have it in front of me today, but going forward, I could have, at the June meeting, these are what I think the transfers are going to be, but with the payrolls running and everything else, there's really three different ways that districts operate. One would be this way. I bring you what the required are. You give me the authority to make the actual transfers. July, I bring it back to you. Some districts will have a special meeting at 7 in the morning on June 31st or June 30th and close it out, not 31st, and close it out.
We used to have it July 1st.
Yeah. Well, technically July 1st is too late. You can't give me authority to transfer it on July 1st. It has to be June 30th. So really, I guess there's two. I don't know. I was thinking there was a third way that I've seen it done, but this is kind of the norm. Either you give me the authority now. I guess the other one would be I would bring you my best guess. You give me the authority, and then in July I come back and tell you what it actually was anyway. So we could certainly go forward, change the practice, or whatever serves best.
Thank you for the explanation.
Sure.
Okay. At this time, I'll call for a motion to authorize the superintendent, assistant superintendent of finance, to close out the fiscal year. Okay.
I would so move.
Okay. Have a motion. Do I have a second?
A second.
All right. So to read it in full, all those in favor of the motion to authorize superintendent, assistant superintendent of finance to close out the fiscal year, making transfers necessary to meet statutory compliance and reach a zero fund balance in Fund 06 General and 08 Supplemental General, vote yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, vote no. It's not popping up for me, dude.
Did everyone vote yes?
Yes.
Yes, but
No one verbally voted no anyway.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, no one voted.
Do we need to refresh or something?
I think you registered your vote, so.
Yeah, okay. Then we will go on. And Jess, if we need to come back, you just let us know. All right, it'll pop up, I'm sure. We'll go to 6.5, Hadley lease agreement. Again, Mr. Park?
Yes, go through that. Is there any changes? I mean, besides a 2-year contract? I mean, it's not more than we've done in the past?
It is. The lease agreement prior, we had it in place for 2 years. This is an increased amount in rent. I don't know exactly how much, but
I believe it was 7,350, I believe was what the previous.
Okay, so we went from 7,000 to 10,000?
I think it's in that area.
and this would be locking that price in for 2 years, which is kind of what we've done. So if you look at that increase, it really happened over the course of 2 years because we didn't have a price change for 2 years.
So how many people are in that building that we pay that space for?
But it depends daily. I mean, we could have as many as 20. Well, some days at the enrollment time, we could have 40.
Testing time.
40, 50. Some days it's probably 10, 15.
But that's for the virtual school.
Yes, this is what this is for. This is only for the virtual school.
So with our buildings being complete,
We are hopeful we can move them into the new administrative spot, which will be at Wilson Elementary. So basically 2 years could take us close to that, possibly. We might have to extend that.
Okay.
Yes, that is the eventual goal, to get them into that space.
And are you looking at all programs to move out of Hadley in 2
Well,
years?
I don't know, Kyle, you want to address that?
So ideally, we would be able to move the preschool sooner, but it all depends on space and what's open and how it's used with all the other movement and stuff. We can transition the 18 to 21 program. That being downtown is really the ideal space for it. In the current space, it's probably not just because of the way the size of it would be too big for just that program. But finding someplace downtown for weekend center, for weekend, the transition side of it, is still the long-term plan, which would include rent of some type. But having those students downtown and be able to navigate that space is a much better experience than them having just more time at a high school center. The preschool, that's a space that makes sense to be in somewhere else. But our lease is off a year, so we just updated the lease for weekend center last year. So we're on a 2-year lease as well.
I mean, you could argue that technically the Hadley space is some of our cheapest operations because we provide no custodial for the building. We provide no insurance cost coverage for that, and any repairs are not part of us. So in a lot of ways, the Hadley facility does provide us great space, and it's somewhat pretty cost effective for us in some regards.
We don't pay utilities though either, do we?
We don't pay utility. We have our own network down there, but that's the only thing we have.
One thing you'll see in the lease, if utility use were outside of their expectations, they do have some means to adjust it, but they haven't done that to us, not to my lease. I assume not yours either.
There's 2 programs in there, right? The preschool and the weekend. That's the 2.
Three counting virtual.
We have 2 special ed programs that are in the same, like the sheriff space, and then we have the.
This
lease is just the virtual
Just
school,
the virtual space.
which is, this is calling it
So
the
when do we
learning
get the
center.
lease for
but
the other
it's-
ones then?
Well, like Kyle just said, you just did it a year ago.
Yeah, ours is a 2-year lease, but we're a year off from theirs.
And what is it? Is it a biannual payment also?
I think we've paid it just one, like, I didn't think we just make a full payment. I really don't know.
Do you know what the amount is? I'm just curious.
$49,000 a year?
No, 4,900.
1,000 for the year,
Oh,
I believe.
okay.
Not per month. 13,000, something like that. I can get it from the crowd.
Well, it'd be nice to
It's on
have
Board
a
Doc.
list of all our leases down there and what's the cost for the district.
Just the special ed space is pretty large because it takes up that whole wing. So
That on
we have a pretty good
floor?
price per square foot, but it's just a big area. So,
Is that on the 4th floor?
No.
No, it's on the ground floor.
It's on the bottom floor.
I have no idea.
Is the virtual then connected to the other 2? Is it the same wing?
I'm sorry.
Because the preschool's on that one corner and then the special ed is
Yeah,
all
no,
the way down the
it's on a
hall.
different wing. It would be on that, I
Yes,
guess.
it's where the restaurant is. We're across the
Okay.
Green space.
Good.
So
So Chris, you'll send us that information for the 3 programs, what it costs.
Yes. Yeah, we can do that.
So the only minor thing on this document is we are officially the virtual, Hayes Virtual, right? Not the USD 489 Learning Center.
Yeah, it's virtual. Yeah, I think
That changed after we had done the initial lease with them, and I didn't catch that, sorry.
Yeah, I just said a minor. All right, so at this time, I'm going to, unless there's more questions, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, I have a motion.
January 1st, 2021, is that accurate? Or what? Is that just the second paragraph? Is that the first, when we first started, was on the 21st, or January 1st of 2021?
Yeah, we moved in 21.
Yeah, and it was January. Yeah, that's when it started.
Okay. All right, so I have a motion and a second. I'm going to call for a vote at this time. All those in favor to approve in favor of the motion to approve as presented, vote yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, vote no. All right. Hearing no votes, we'll go on. 6.6, USD 489, Board of Education calendar.
Yeah, I was curious, with a bond going on, we haven't had a discussion about this to see what the board would like to have on their calendar. I mean, this is presented as a corresponding date, taking away one. We have cut back our meetings, like 5 meetings from when we first started in 19. And so now we have May, June, July, and August with only one business meeting per month. I just think that this is a good conversation for the board to have, to talk about these things and see if it's, corresponding dates, the reasons why we don't have them always on the first, or at least some of the meetings always on the first Monday, first and third. Is that our normal time for the other 2 meetings per month? But then we change and have them in the middle of the month sometimes. So it's kind of confusing for the public who's regularly comes, well, the board meeting's tonight because this is the normal day, to switch it. Now, of course, they can get a copy of it, but that's some discussion that should be, I think, for the board. And the meeting time, is that something that the board would discuss? Is the time best for everybody, or do we want to go, because we used to be 7 o'clock and now it's 6:30. So
since I've been on, it's been 6:30. Since I've been on, those dates in May, June, and July correspond to the same ever since I've been here. So I'm
for the 2 years, that's correct, but not since like 2019 when Mr. Wilson came. We've cut back several meetings.
So I guess my only thing, Alan, would be at our work session, August 5th, that we talk about that as well, especially with the bond moving forward, that just be one of
That's concern is is there some things that we're not watching or being aware of?
And to
because
me,
it's
I
only one
think it
meeting?
doesn't always have to be an actual board meeting, but it could be an actual work session that we have conversation where there's no vote taking place, and then bring it to a meeting, so the meetings don't, last till 10 o'clock like they do sometimes tend to be. But
Well, and
I would
also
agree with you. I think it needs to be
the discussion about the work sessions, because we have those scheduled on there, and that was something that was just new this year, and that should be part of the board discussion, is do we want to continue that or not? So that would be another thing that we could talk about. And is that retreat in August the best time for everybody? Is it too late? I mean, maybe we should have it earlier. I don't know. But that's some discussion that the board should have in building their own calendar, just like the teachers work with the administration to build their calendar, and they spend meetings to do it. I think the practice has been in the past that's not in the recent years, but in the past, that the board is part of the process to build their own calendar. I just think it's a good practice. I think most boards do that.
And I'm okay, with the August 5th of the board retreat and work session that day to discuss those things as well, because at least it's before the school year actually starts.
So are you amending the motion to move this to after the August 5th?
I like the suggestion that we look at it and have some discussion on that to see, because we can't change it. It's just confusing, and we probably should look at, well, maybe this should be an activity that we have in April so that we can work through the months and look at the calendar and see, having the first Monday of the month and then move it to the second Monday of the month it is confusing for people.
I understand it's on the agenda to vote on it, so
I think we could either table it or we can approve it so that we know moving forward, and then we can agenda, because last year we changed it and we changed the calendar.
Here's the thing, so yes, last year we did change some items on the calendar. There were maybe a couple of dates included in that. We have to publicize our next meeting date, which is the first meeting on this calendar, in advance for the open meetings law. The changes are suggesting, I mean, all of them in September, for example, the reason it wouldn't be on the first Monday is that the first Monday in September is Labor Day, so it is a holiday, it is a federal holiday, so we would not normally have a meeting on that day. And in the other cases, there are a great deal of days where we would not have school on those days. In May, June, and July, as the buildings close, there's less work to do, fewer things to pay and monitor. And Mr. Wilson already explained why we would maybe not have that first meeting in January. Same thing is the case in November or December. These are the first and third Mondays for the most part, and that is the meeting day that was happening when I joined the board. It is not particularly good practice to change official board meeting days according to people's schedule, but rather to ensure that people who are asking for positions made it a priority in their schedule to attend the already existing and already scheduled meeting. As far as more work sessions or fewer work sessions, or more or fewer work sessions, it's neither here nor there. To me, we'd all be here, and so it would technically already still be an open meeting whether we chose to do business or not. And that is an agenda-setting choice, which is made by the president as elected.
So is there any rule or regulation, Ron, that you can't add a work session to this meeting, to this agenda, as far as that goes?
As long as we have one meeting a month that has action, that's the only requirement.
You can add all the special meetings you want to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as long as you have the time to
You can add to this article.
Like I think in Mr. Wilson's first year, I think we had 25 meetings. Some of those were special sessions.
And there's school boards that meet once a month, and that's it.
So, and then is there an issue because when new board members come on, it's like listed that they're supposed to attend the first meeting in January? And I know that would be, if we continued this, if we dropped a meeting off. And what was your explanation of why we're not having a meeting in January?
Well, the holiday break, we pretty much shut down. There's not a lot of business that goes on. So if you look at that, January 6th is the first date. We're coming back really from break, and there's really not much to do. It's really kind of in the sense of unnecessary meeting.
And so
This year it was snowed out anyways. Like,
yeah.
10 times, I don't know.
So looking at it, are there any changes anybody wants to suggest or make here?
I'm okay with the suggestion on revisiting it and look at it and see about even timing. When should we look at it in the future?
At this point, we have to set a meeting date for next month as it is, so.
The only thing is, I think, and Derek, you needed dates for your work, so setting the dates are fairly important for Derek. I didn't know you were going to say something.
No, just we're a couple months out scheduling it. I guess it looks like most of the times that we're not meeting on the first and third is because of holiday, and a lot of holidays do fall on Mondays. The reason why it's Monday instead of some other day of the week, that there's less holidays. We want to keep it more consistent. That's the only thing I thought.
Tuesdays and Thursdays are often reserved for sporting events. Wednesdays is often reserved for church. Fridays, please don't do that.
Saturdays, what you're saying.
Saturday, that's it. I think Monday is the least restrictive when it comes to people who have children in the district that are involved in activities. I understand that, it is the most busy day when it comes to holidays. I get it.
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem with the day, like it being Monday. I was just asking about work sessions, if one ever needed to be added, if that was the thing that could happen.
Yeah, and it is.
I'm totally fine with it being Mondays the way it is.
Well, I think all this is good discussion that we should have with the board when it comes to our calendar.
Well, we're having it right now.
Yeah. And I
great.
do like that it's not the same as the city and counties, because we're all separated. And I'm sure Mr. Jeter appreciates not having the same time either.
So I'm going to ask if there's no changes being presented for this calendar, I'm going to ask that a motion to approve be made.
I would like to move to approve this calendar as presented.
Is there a second?
I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion to approve as presented, vote yes.
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 There it is.
All those opposed, vote no. And hearing no votes, I'm taking it passes. Okay, and so we'll move on to 6.7, board positions discussion. So due to some things that have happened in the past, the last few years, the meeting before we have voting for positions, we do have a discussion about it just to make sure we're all on the same page with things. And so what I'm going to do is I'll start with myself, and then I'm going to go to Mr. Viner. And at this time, if you would like to run for president or vice president, if you could let us know. And then at the next meeting, when we vote, we will take all things into consideration. And I do plan on running for...
Mr. Brooks?
Yes, sir.
Can you explain how the election will work?
My plan is for us to, if there's more than one person running for a position, I think the race to make a motion to get your favorite out there is not an efficient way to do it. I'm going to ask that we start with the discussion and then take a consensus and then do a motion.
So are you going to ask this board to nominate those that they would like to be president, so it's more than one?
Or, yeah, speak up if there's somebody, yes. We won't make motions until we have a discussion, so that it isn't a race to be the first person.
I understand. So we're going to take more than one person if there's more than one nominated for a position?
Yes, sir. So, are you interested in running for a position?
Did you speak? Did you?
Yeah, I said I'm running again for
I would
president.
consider it to be an honor to be considered for either vice president or president.
Okay. Ruth?
No.
Okay.
I'm not interested in being vice president, but I have too much to learn.
Megan?
I would happily serve again as vice president if chosen.
All right. Derek?
No.
Jamie?
I'm okay.
Okay. Alan?
I'm not planning on running at this time.
Okay. All right, so there we have it. So we will have that at our next board meeting. What's that? Okay. And then, so we will now, at this time, we are going to go into executive, I'm going to make a motion for us to go into executive session pursuant to Kansas Open Meeting Acts for the purpose of matters relating to employer-employee negotiations, whether or not in consultation with the representative or representatives of the body or agency in order to protect the district's right to the confidentiality of its negotiating position in the public interest. And the open meeting will last...
I would say you're probably going to take 30 minutes.
30 minutes, and it'll be in, what's that?
For the first section is 30 minutes.
It should cover.
It's all negotiations.
Yeah. And so 30 minutes, and then we will be in what room?
If you want to go to the training room, I think it's open.
Okay, we will do it in the training room, and so that would put us, with the time there and time back, that would put us back here.
We have a 5-minute break.
Yeah, So that's what, I'm going to say that we will be out of executive session at, let's say, 8:50.
And did you say who was coming with us?
And that will be all of the board, all of the administration, and Mr. Jeter.
Will there be action after the?
Yes, there will be action afterwards. And so that's my motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor vote yes?
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed vote no. Okay. Hearing no no's, it's approved.
Jess?
Who made the motion?
I made the motion. Kurt seconded.
I said yes, but I closed my computer.
do I get to Miss Martin?
That's a shocker. They give you a plaque?
I got a prize and my picture's in the slip. Bet you can pull out class of 22 and find that right there.
Right on page one.
It doesn't work. Grab my bag.
All right. Forget that. All right, I'm going to call us back into general session. And as soon as I get my computer on, I'll tell us what agenda item we're on. I think it started to power down. What agenda item are we on?
7.3.
7-3.
Okay.
Can I make the motion?
Hold on one second. Yeah, if you want to make a motion, that'd be fine.
I make a motion to approve the 2024-25 Hayes USD Master or USD 49 Master Collective Bargaining Agreements with the salary increase for certified employees.
Second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor to approve the motion to approve the 2024-25 Hayes USD 489 Master Collective Bargaining Agreements with salary increase for certified employees, vote yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, vote no. All right, hearing no no's, we will go on. And we are at this time going for classified personnel compensation. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve wage increase for classified employees as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion to approve wage increase for classified employees as presented, vote yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, vote no. All right. And then I'm going to make a motion. We're moving on to 7.5. 7.4 is approved. I'm going to make the motion that I'm going to make two motions. The first one's going to be that we approve a salary increase for our licensed personnel at 4.16%. May I have a second?
A salary increase for licensed personnel at what?
4.16%.
Do we need to move that out of the agenda?
It should be one motion. You're just going to tag both the things together.
Okay.
Oh, I thought we said it needed to be two motions.
Because you don't have two motions on your agenda.
I think you can make.
Okay, all right, so then I'll make the motion to approve a salary increase for licensed personnel of 4.16% and for administrators and directors at 3.5%.
I second.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of the motion to, who seconded? Who seconded it? Was it Ruth did?
Ruth's over here. Chicken dinner.
Okay, and so all those in favor of the motion to approve for our licensed personnel a 4.16% increase and our administration and directors a 3.5% increase, vote yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, vote no.
Did it pop up? You might have to refresh.
Oh, it didn't pop, oh, there we go, it just popped up for me. All right. Okay, and that brings us to the end of our meeting, and we are adjourned.
What did you do yourself?
They found melanoma and